Okay, so welcome to my breakdown of Ironheart. I did like a full season breakdown of Daredevil Born Again when that dropped, and I've just watched the first 3 episodes of Ironheart. I was gonna stay up last night and watch them, but I was too tired, and I thought, you know what? There's 3 episodes. I'll do it in the morning, and I'm glad that I did because I think if I had watched it last night, I wouldn't have enjoyed it at all. But I watched it this morning, and we're gonna break it down. We're gonna talk about it. So, just for some context. I don't know anything about Ironheart from the comics. I've seen her in like one event that I've read, which was Civil War 2, and she was like a fleeting cameo. I know the sort of like general idea about her character, and I know that she's got like the Iron Man suit and things like that, and I know that she's part of, I want to say, Infamous Iron Man story. I always mix up Infamous and Superior. Whichever one's not the extremis evil Tony Stark and it's the Doctor Doom Tony Stark. I know that she's part of that story. So that's just my base knowledge. I do enjoy the MCU. I really like Marvel. So going into it, I kind of was like, take it or leave it. If I didn't like it, I didn't like it. If I enjoyed it, I enjoyed it. I was very like neutral going into it. I know that this is a very controversial show that you're gonna get hate if you enjoy it by a certain group of people, and you're gonna get hate if you don't enjoy it by another like a group of people. So I'm just here to give my opinion on it. There is gonna be some spoilers. I'm not gonna like deep dive into a lot of the specifics, but there's gonna be some things that I focus on a little bit more than others. So let's jump into it. So right off the bat, they do the classic superhero trait of let me take away the thing that makes them cool. They took away her suit, like, pretty much straight away, and she didn't really get it back until the second episode, so we didn't have to wait too long. But I don't really like the trait of let me take away your suit and powers. I get that it's like to develop the character and stuff, but I just feel like it's a little bit overplayed. I don't like it in Spider-Man 2. I've made a point of, like, whenever we've done the tier videos and things like that and the discussions and whatever, like, I always bring that up. I really don't like when they do that. It wasn't that bad here, though. We did get, like, Riru's a brand new character, so it wasn't like, we've already spent 2 films with her and now they're taking away her stuff. They're taking away her stuff so that we can get to know who she is first and then she can have her shit back. So, and they also focused a lot on the legacy of Tony Stark in the first episode. They went over what her goals were. Yes, she does want to make something iconic, as was shown in the trailers, upsetting a lot of people. But she wants to revolutionize safety. She said that she wants to create tech for, like, firefighters and stuff like that. Like, she wants to help protect the world. Iron Man's entire goal was a suit of armor around the world. So I think it's really cool that she's kind of going into it with a very similar mindset of prioritizing safety and going against the kind of weaponized side of it. But she ends up getting kicked out of MIT. She gets expelled from MIT, and she's gonna get money. She's gonna get money. I can't really remember why she's gonna get money. I'm not gonna lie. I don't remember why she's gonna get the money. But that's the whole goal, is that she's gonna get some money. So she ends up getting recruited by Hood's gang. Now, throughout, like, the first 2 episodes of this in particular, I got, like, a very Spider-Man-y vibe. The visuals and the aesthetic and stuff felt like Spider-Man Homecoming, which was actually pretty good, because Homecoming is my favourite Spider-Man film. I know that's probably going to be controversial for people that didn't already know that. But yes, I like Spider-Man Homecoming. And I think visually and aesthetically, and like a lot of the sets and things, like when you see Peter go to the bodega and stuff in Homecoming, like little scenes like that, this reminded me of it. And Ironheart very much feels like Iron Man on street level. Like, I imagine Ironheart being able to fit in with Spider-Man and with the Thunderbolts and with Hawkeye and that entire group of, like, the MCU that we've got going on, like with Daredevil and things like that. So I think that the show so far did a good job of, like, grounding her in that side of the MCU. Specifically, though, like I said, it reminded me a lot of Spider-Man Homecoming. So she gets recruited by the Hood, and the Hood's got his own gang going on. I'm not going to go through, like, every single character that is there, but I do want to give, like, a particular shout out to Shea Coulee, who's playing Slug. They did a fantastic job, and they were, like, really charismatic in every scene they were in. I really, really love their character. I hope that they don't end up getting killed off. We got a Madripoor name drop, and the Hood, for me, like, the Hood himself, took a little while for me to, like, warm up to him. I didn't really like him that much in the first 2 episodes, but by the time we got to episode 3, I was like, okay, you're pretty cool. They did something with a character in episode 3 that, I don't know, we'll talk about it a little bit more at the end, but it added a little bit more emotion to his character. So the crux of the crescendo of the first episode is that Riri's created an AI, not AI Tony Stark. They've switched it up, and she's, like, resurrected by accident her best friend that had passed into an AI. She's, like, subconsciously created this AI called Natalie, and the AI is kind of scary because in episode 2 it shows you, like, the AI is, like, searching around on her PC and learning about her life and learning about Natalie and developing a personality based off of Natalie and the memories of Natalie. And it was a little bit, like, you know, a bit too real with what's going on in the world right now. But by the time we got to episode 3, again, everything kind of, like, pulled together for episode 3 for me. By the time we got to episode 3, Natalie was spending a lot of time in the suit and was, like, developing a fun personality that was, like, quite enjoyable and stuff. It started off a little bit sinister and developed into quite fun, and they were, like, bouncing off of each other a lot, and they had some really great chemistry. Then we had Joe. So I'm gonna mention a big spoiler here. We'll get back to it, actually, because I've included it later on. But we've got Joe, played by Alden Ehrenreich, I think his name is, who was Han Solo in the Solo film, which, again, I also didn't hate that film. I just like a lot of films. But he was, like, I don't really know. It was a weird sort of, like, side quest that we went on to meet his character, and another character that I didn't really care for initially, but then, like, when he's brought back into the show, I did actually quite like him, and I like who we end up finding out that he is, if that makes sense. There's a reveal about his character that we get to, and it ended up being quite a nice little reference. So there was a lot of AI commentary throughout the first 3 episodes, specifically the first 2. There was a big focus on it. And, you know, again, they didn't do AI Tony Stark, which I do, to a degree, think was a mistake. But at the same time, I think it would have definitely, like, I don't know, would it have pulled focus from her? Because Dominique Thorne is really good as Riri Williams. I don't know, though. I don't know what it would have been like having the buddy cop and him being sort of like her AI mentor. I do think it's a bit of a missed opportunity. But I don't think the route that they're going down is the wrong route. But I do think that it was a little bit sinister, like I said, about, like, the way that the AI was acting initially when it was first created. And, you know, when Riri's talking to her mum and her mum's discovered the AI, her mum is, like, gobsmacked by it and is explaining, like, wow, it's exactly like what Natalie was like. Can you make one of Gary? Which is, I think, her partner that had also died at the same time as Natalie. And that was real sad, because it, again, was, like, hitting very real and, like, where we are in the world. And, you know, you probably are, in a couple of years' time, going to be able to resurrect people in the form of AI. And I think the show kind of, like, dabbled a little bit on whether or not you should. And it then just kind of moved on from it. And I don't know, is it Marvel's responsibility? Is it Marvel's responsibility to be tackling that commentary? I don't know. But I found it interesting that they sort of opened the door to it. and it's a conversation to be had. And I'm glad that it's there, and we can always come back to it, because I think, like, nobody's really considered the idea of it's a bit grim bringing back Tony Stark in AI form. It's a bit grim. It's a bit creepy in some ways. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, Joe is Zeke Stain. He's Obadiah's son, which was heavily speculated, I want to say, heavily rumored before the show came out. I definitely remember seeing that on, like, Reddits and in videos and things. But I had completely, like, pushed that to the back of my mind and hadn't even thought about it. And then when it was revealed in the show, I was like, oh! And it's a really cool callback, because this entire show does feel like a continuation of the Iron Man story. It feels like you could watch the first 3 Iron Man films, you know, watch your Avengers films, and then watch this as a continuation of, like, the Tony Stark legacy. There is enough kind of, like, interweaving sort of characters and mentions and storylines and things that I think it works, but it also works as a good reboot and, like, as a standalone thing at the same time. I think it's a good mix of, like, the best of both. And it's established pretty well that Riri is not trying to be a new Iron Man. She's definitely trying to do her own thing. And that, like, the Iron Man tech isn't necessarily that unique. So many people have access to, like, high tech, and she's trying to do something, like, special to her, right? So we throw in Zeke Stain, who is a villain in the comics. Is he going to be a villain in the future? At the moment, it seems like he's going to be her ally. But I could very much see this going down the route of, if they are doing a Champions show, or a Champions film, or whatever, and Ironheart is going to be on that team, because she is a member of the Champions in the books, you know, are they going to take on Zeke Stain? I think that could be really, really interesting if she's, like, the core Ironheart of the team, and, you know, the main villain is somebody connected to her. I think that would be very, very interesting for his character and for hers. And it would continue Ironheart on past this show, because I don't really know if this is going to get, like, a second season or anything like that. Based on the other shows, probably not. We've done that. Looming presence! Is he here? He's not here. Not yet. He's not here yet. But he's very much sort of like the aura of Mephisto is here. They're not hiding him. Like, anybody that sort of knows who he is here and knows he's coming. I think we might have heard his voice at one point in, like, episode 1 or 2. I can't really remember. But the ending of episode 3 was brilliant, and I wanted to wait to sort of talk about it because I knew that we were going to bring Mephisto up. So, at the end of episode 3, this is probably the biggest spoiler out of all 3 episodes, but there's a sort of heist that goes wrong at like a high-tech greenhouse full of, like, magic mushrooms and shit. And during the process, one of the team ends up discovering that Riri has got some of the Hood's cape, the Hood's hood, because she wants to find out what the fuck is going on with the Hood, which is valid. So do I. I don't know much around around that character. I want to know what's going on. I want to know how he got it. I want to know how it's connected to Satan. I want to know how it's connected to Mephisto, the Prince of Lies. Like, tell me everything. I want all of this lore because it sounds sick. So, she's trying to steal a piece of his hood and gets discovered by another member of the gang. But yeah, so Joe discovers that Riri has got a bit of the Hood's hood and plans to stop her, and she locks him inside of a room in the greenhouse where the air is being sucked out. And ultimately, Joe dies. And Parker spirals out back at his apartment, and Riri is spiraling out because she's just killed somebody. She's responsible for Joe's death. And, like, to put that on a character that's only 19, it reminds me a lot of Agatha All Along. And I have a feeling this show might be a little bit like Agatha, where nobody asked for it, but we've got it, and it's actually pretty good. But in that, obviously, Wiccan is responsible for deaths. And I think that's going to be really interesting moving forward when we get, like, the champions. You know, did Kate Bishop kill some people? Probably. She was shooting a lot of arrows. Are they all going to be brought together by their combined trauma of, like, having to kill out of necessity? I don't know. But, yeah, so Riri's, like, completely spiraling at the end of the episode, and we get a brilliant scene. It's probably my favourite scene of the show so far, of Parker, without his hood, completely crashing out in his apartment over the death of Joe. And he's talking to Mephisto, but Mephisto's not replying. But there's, like, a lot of thunder, a lot of shadows, a lot of shit going on. And Mephisto shows Parker, like, how Joe died. Joe suffocating to death. And then he shows the shadow and silhouette of Ironheart. He's ratted her out. He's snitched on her. He's a snitch. Which we expected, because Mephisto's a little shit. So, Mephisto is just playing, like, spectator here and throwing the hood, like, against Ironheart, right? He's like, nah, go get her, let's see. Let's see who's gonna win. It's just a big game for him. And I'm totally here for it. Now, it's been rumoured that he's gonna be in episode 5, officially. I think he's gonna be in just regular human form, either in 4 or 5, and then we're gonna get proper Demon Mephisto in episode 6. But I honestly, I thought that they might have even killed the Hood in this episode, in episode 3. I had, like, a weird feeling that the Hood was gonna die halfway through the show, and then the other half of the show would be Riri learning about the Hood and discovering Mephisto. But they've kept him alive, they're pitting him off against each other. I'm quite excited for it. I think it's gonna be pretty interesting. Overall, I've got to say I did enjoy it. There were some dull moments and some slow moments for me, especially in the first 2 episodes. I think episode 2 specifically, even though we got, like, quite a high-tech sequence with the tunnel sequence. If you've watched it, you'll know what I'm on about. If you haven't watched it, it's not that important for me to, like, deep dive into. But I just feel like the first 2 episodes were very, very slow, and I fully understand why they dropped, like, 3 episodes at once, because this would not have worked as a weekly release. Holy shit. If anything, I think this is a testament so far, without even having watched episodes 4, 5, and 6. I have a feeling they're going to be structured very, very similarly, where it's like 1 part and then 2 part. Part 1 and part 2. First 3, second 3. I think that's how it's going to be structured. I think this should have been a full season drop. And I think Disney need to realize, I know that they're changing how they're doing things, but I think they need to realize that the special presentations that they did, like for Werewolf by Night, and they're doing one for Punisher, you know, do that for more characters. You can do it for characters like Echo. You can do it for characters like She-Hulk or Ironheart. If you don't feel like you can get a full season without extensive filler, or, you know, without only doing 6 episodes, do a special presentation. I'd sit there and watch, like, a 90-minute special presentation of this. You could have cut out so much from the second episode. There's even some whole characters that I would cut out of the show that I don't really feel like have much of an impact. So, overall, I don't at all think that it was bad. I just feel like that there is some stuff in here that's kind of dredging it down. I think that it was actually surprisingly enjoyable. By the time I got to episode 3, I felt like there was a lot of payoff. And I was like, okay, it's been a sort of slow revving up. And then we hit episode 3 and it was like, boom, we're off. Whether or not the other 3 episodes are the same, we'll find out next week. But yes, I would give it a 7 out of 10. Pretty decent. Pretty decent. But yeah, I would definitely recommend watching it for yourself. I always recommend watching it for yourself. Before you watch, like, any breakdowns or reviews or whatever, I know it's a bit late for me to be saying that after I've already reviewed it, but for future reference, please watch stuff yourself before you go off and, like, read a review or whatever. Because I feel like there are so many people now on the internet that are, like, inherently biased from the get-go. There are some people that are never going to give this show a chance, never intended to. that are just going to completely slate it. They're going to stick to their guns and slate it, and I definitely don't think it deserves any hate. All of the acting here was fantastic. The CGI was great. The visuals were great. It was just some of the story and some of the structure of the episodes was a bit like sort of slow and bogged down for me. But anyway, that was my sort of breakdown of the first 3 episodes of Ironheart. Next week we've got the other 3. I'm actually pretty excited for it. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. But yeah, feel free to leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed my review, or a thumbs down if you didn't, and let me know what you thought of the 3 episodes if you've watched them. If you've read the comics, do you like Ironheart in the comics? Let me know. And if you could recommend some Ironheart comics for me to read, some Ironheart runs or series or appearances, then please do, because I would really like to read some of her content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.